Welcome to another Kings of War Battle Report, the Epic Quest. Kingdoms of Men versus Salamanders in a 2,300 point battle with the scenario being Pillage. This is the second army in my Epic Quest series. The plan to use every one of my armies. And this game was actually, we played a three-way game because we've been having trouble with everybody being so busy to show up to have people for one-on-one games. So my friend Carl Cannon and I took on our friend John Helton, and we used my massive Masters of Men army. And it was really fun because it's not like that you're giving the other guy 5 units. In this list, you're giving them almost what everybody else uses as an army because it is such a huge horde. And really enjoyed the game, and I hope you enjoy it. I really liked my Orc army so much that I took to the Wildcat tournament, and it's all based on Eric Trowbridge's Masters winning list. So I found that the Kingdoms of Men can actually replicate that list to a certain extent, and in some ways could even be superior. So what I did was I have ported this list over to Kingdoms of Men, and you can see why that it might be better or it might be worse. But anyway, it's a very competitive list, and it's basically designed with the same philosophy in mind. It has 5 troops of shield wall, 2 hordes of foot guard, both with Indomitable Will, one with Potion of the Caterpillar, 2 hordes of pikemen, both with Indomitable Will and one with the Brew of Strength, 3 regiments of fanatics, 2 generals mounted, an ASB with loot, and 3 mounted heroes with Indomitable Will, and one has the Blade of Slashing. Over the last few months, John has been honing and polishing this Salamander list, so I think he's got to the point where he's just about hit the optimum on it. It has 2 hordes of Ceremonial Guard, one with the Brew of Sharpness and the other one with the Chalice of Wrath. It has a troop of Ancients. It has 2 troops of Gecko Warriors. Even though they're not listed, there are also 2 Liquilodons. A horde of Rhinosaur Cavalry with the Jesse's Boots of Striding. 2 hordes of Tyrants. A Mage Priest on a Raptor with Bane Chant and Fireball. A Clan Lord on a Fire Drake. And a Herald with loot. So John Helton does one of the things that I despise and love at the exact same time. He played this scenario from minute one. He did not contemplate, oh, well, I got to win the scenario. Oh, no. John decided that he was going to win the scenario. And what he does is he places 3 of the objectives very close together. Now, they're far apart enough to be legitimate, but he castled up around all of those objectives. And so now I've got 3 on my side of the table. He has 4 on his side. So if he just stands still the whole game, he wins the game by default, by winning by 1 point. So I had to come and get him. So you can see what John did over here with the 3 objectives. He's got Liquilodon. In front of them, he's got a unit of Gecko Warriors. And then in the woods, he's got another unit of Gecko Warriors. Behind the Liquilodon on the left is a troop of Eternal Guard, then 2 units of Ceremonial Guard. One of them has the Brew of Sharpness, the one in the front does. And then in the middle, I think that's his Herald right there, and then the Rhinosaur Cavalry with the Boots of Striding. So you think that's pretty safe. Oh no, over here he has 1 less token. You can see it right in the middle, and I think that is his Mage Priest on the Raptor there. But he has used a piece of impassable terrain and then put 2 hordes of Tyrants around it, another Liquilodon, and then the Fire Drake. So he is well protecting all of these objectives. Now, sometimes when you do this, you kind of surrender the initiative, but on this table, I'd put so much terrain, we were just going to have a hard time walking over to where we could get to the objectives, much less fighting his way through that formidable foe right there in front of that one. So I took over the right side of the table, and Carl had the left. You can see Carl's lovely knees in the picture. But anyway, over here, there's this huge piece of impassable terrain. And so what I did was I planted a troop of shield wall there. One of my Lone Rangers, which is also just a mounted hero if you've not been looking at my articles lately, and behind them it was a regiment of fanatics. In the very middle there was one of my mounted generals, and then the horde of foot guard with the potion of the caterpillar, and then another troop of shield wall and one of the other Lone Rangers or mounted heroes. Behind them was the horde of pikemen with the brew of strength, and then behind them further was my ASB with loot. It was in a position where it could influence most of the line, and I'll show you the rest on the other slide. So on Carl's side of the table, where the end of the line here is, where my foot guard is at, we had a troop of shield wall and a Lone Ranger. Behind them was the horde of pikemen. I think those are mine, the brew of strength. And then a regiment of fanatics, which was kind of the break point of our two halves of the army. Then a troop of shield wall. Behind those are a big unit of foot guard. Then another troop of shield wall behind those to protect them from the Lakelodon and the dragon were a regiment of fanatics. Then another Lone Ranger or mounted hero, as I call them. And then lastly, another troop of shield wall and the pike horde. Yeah, that's the first Salamander move. He just kind of shuffled some troops back and forth, moved his Lakelodon up to shoot at my shield wall troop, and then the Rhino Cav moved up into the woods along with a unit of Gecko warriors. Over on the other end, it was just the same thing where the Lakelodon moved up into range to shoot. Like I said, Lakelodon just moved up to shoot. His dragon kind of sat there, but he's eventually going to come up and do some shooting as well. The thing here in this scenario, you can see that the two chips on the left, these are the ones that I put out, or Carl and I put out. And our idea was to move into those chips, and so, or objectives. And so that would let us, either leave units behind or something. And I would have to say that we probably made a mistake, that we probably should have left two of those troops behind our army, not in front of it. And the reason why is because then we could just leave them behind on the objectives and not really worry about them. John did a pretty good job of shooting them off the table, though. He did not like the chaff units that we had. So there is one token just to the right of the impassable terrain. And then the other one, of course, is right in the middle, since we only have three. All of the tokens over there, you can see one out there. That's where it was underneath the ancients for a while. But all the rest of them are underneath that huge mass of lizards. So before I even moved my shield wall unit, John shot him off the table. He rolled 9 twice with his Lakelodon and killed him. I was kind of stunned. But the nice thing is with very inspiring. He was still in range of one of my generals there, so I made it good. Everything else moved up forward. I made a conscious move so that my troop over on the left-hand side, right in front of my pikemen, could move at max speed up into the gap there next to that impassable terrain in that small woods. So over here on the left flank, everything moved forward. I really thought that we could move forward faster with the pikemen and the troop of shield wall. The reason why is because if you look at John's army, he's split in half around that one piece of impassable terrain. And so we could have just moved up and attacked that one unit without really worrying about both units. So that would have been a better plan, I think. And also, like I said, I think that there wasn't enough shooting on the other side to really worry about chaffing them up. And it turned out that we made a mistake. And you could see that in the very bottom corner, you could see one of Carl's units of shield walls that John also wavered with a 9 or 10. just some good dice. Unfortunate, but just good. But you can see now, like I said, you could see where we could have moved up much quicker on the left side. It probably should have had where that unit of shield wall and the regiment of berserkers should have been in that little gap between the hedge and that piece of terrain there. So that would have been a much better plan for us in retrospect. But when you're playing with two different people, it's hard sometimes to get a coherent plan and just go with it. Here's the same picture showing what we should have done. The foot guard here on the bottom right, they're actually in the right corridor. I mean, you see there's nothing in front of them, and they should be able to move at maximum movement speed because there is no impassable terrain right in front of them. The unit there with the the shield wall and the fanatics should have been in what I labeled in there as corridor 2, which they could have fit between that hedge and that piece of difficult terrain, so that way they could have moved forward quicker. And then over on the far left, the pikemen should have been all the way left against the table, so they did not run into that hedge. Because the biggest problem we had this game is we're an all-infantry army, have no speed, so we have to deploy in any corridor that allows us to move forward quickly. And this table was choked with little tiny pieces of terrain. So it's not an abusive amount of terrain. It's just there's a lot of little pieces that just can clip the edge of your base and slow you down. So if you see what I mean about the deployment here, that everything should have been on the left side, should have been skewed much further to the left and just avoided those two little pieces of impassable terrain in the middle. You can see here where I drew the lines for this quarter 2. It may have been a smidge off. It should have been maybe half an inch over to the left a little bit more. The biggest concern here that you have when you're playing this way is, see, I'm pushing forward at 10 as fast as I can go. And then now my flank is hanging in the wind here, except that the woods is covering it right now. But that dragon is going to become a concern because, I mean, that dragon with the flank charge has 30 swings. So that is a lethal critter. But what needed to happen here, like I said, was that everything should be able to move to 10 and then covered that gap between the impassable terrain and the woods. Over here on his turn, the Keeladon went ahead and charged my lone hero, and of course did one win, and of course wavered. But I had indomitable will, so I was going to be able to ignore that and move somewhere else in the rest of the turn. But I was just shocked because now it's two times the Keeladon's done something, it's wavered me. So over here, John moves up to secure the objective right in the front. So now, see, the horde in the back is actually securing. I believe it can secure 2, but I'm not exactly sure. I can't really tell from the picture. But now his unit of ceremonial guard has moved up to halt to grab that objective, and then he's got a unit of geckos in front of it. Over in the left middle, one of his units of geckos went ahead and charged into my troop of shield wall, and he did get Bane Chant off on him, so he could have a potential to do some damage at least. So John moved up and started doing some range damage to us, and this is where we kind of messed up, because in this case the only semi-fast unit we have were the fanatics, and one fanatic was over here on the right holding an objective. The man in the middle is going to get an objective, which should have been a troop could have done. And then the one over there is trapped behind that unit of shield wall. So we were not in a good position here, because we should have had, like I said, if we'd have gotten to that corridor there, then my fanatics could have gone ahead and threatened the dragon or the Keeladon. As it was now, he could just sit outside of range and just keep peppering us with fireballs and lizard spit. You can see here that my units are going to be in pretty good shape as far as being able to. I know we're fighting on a really narrow front, and there's a lot of terrain in between, but I do have that nice piece of impassable terrain, so I really don't have to worry about getting flanked, and that's a big thing for me, is not having these units flanked, because I think one-on-one I'm a really good matchup for his units there, just because of the boosters on these units, because the one on the right has Potion of the Caterpillar and the one on the left has a pikeman have improved strength. In retrospect, if they were swapped, that would be better, but it's okay. So there you go. So in my turn, I went ahead and I disengaged the lone hero from the Keeladon, and then that allowed the unit of fanatics to charge in and destroy him. It also put me in a pretty good place. The problem I have in this time is that because I lost my little troop, that was one that was going to hold the objective for me. Now I really can't move the fanatics off of it. Because he's already up one token on me. I mean, one objective on me, and I have to get one, or at least negate one, to at least get a draw. So I can't afford to go just walking off, even though game-wise, as far as killing stuff-wise, the best move would have been to keep moving forward. But without an extra unit there to hold that token or that objective, I was kind of in a messed up spot. And here's the left side of our line. You can see it's just getting worse as far as us getting all clustered together. There's these nice corridors there to move through, and instead we're all blocked in. We even had to turn the unit of pikemen slightly to keep from getting flank charged. So that's going to slow us down even more because now that stupid hedge is in the way. Where if we would have just been to the further left, we would have been 20 inches and he would have been out of the charge arc of the dragon. And, I mean, the tyrants are very good, but they wouldn't stand up to having a chaff unit and a horde of pikemen behind them. They're hitting pikemen on 5s, so a minimum of 2 turns to take them out. And if the pikemen get the charge in, there's a good chance that they could take out the tyrants before they died. Here, the lone hero, the Lone Rangers, I call him, and the troop of Shield Wall went ahead and took out his unit of geckos. And now that's opening it up so that I could potentially chaff that unit of Rhino Cav before it is able to do anything good. And that was what I was hoping to have happen here. And the thing is that John's starting to have to watch because now we're getting angles on our lone heroes and generals on that dragon, so we might be able to charge him from an angle he doesn't expect. So when everything starts getting this close, it starts getting really tense. So it's the top of turn 3, and he charges the unit of geckos from behind the wall into my lone hero, who of course turns to face him. The Rhino Cav pops their J-boots and comes slamming into my unit of foot guard and does 12 wounds, which is, I believe, exactly average. So it makes me kind of happy. The one unit of ceremonial guard has to angle because my fanatics are starting to close in. Well, he's got a little U-shaped ambush going here, so there's no way I'm going to move into that. All I could really hope to do is to push something here on my left middle with the pikeman to try to get into that area because he is right on top of one of the objectives that I need. Nothing really happened on the left side except another unit got wavered by the combined shooting of the Laquilodon and the Fire Drake. You can see there's a little bit of wounds everywhere, but there's none that are just really in bad shape except the Shield Wall troop, which is, I mean, they're really low morale anyway. So in my turn, I did back up the fanatics back to within 3 inches of that objective. There's no reason to give that up since I've already got it. Of course, the foot guard countercharge the Rhino Cav, and then the mounted general goes ahead and charges into the flank of the Rhino Cav. The whole secret here in these things is when you get a unit like this and you have all these lone heroes, you just converge all of them. You'll see it later in the game, how to use these guys to great effect. It's like whenever you have a spot, you just throw them in there because that extra 2 or 3 wounds sometimes is all it takes to kill a unit. And then my other Lone Ranger guy charges back into the geckos who did no damage to him. And then the pikeman gets 60 in the flank with brute strength, so that's not going to be a good outcome for a bunch of geckos. One of the tactics I learned from playing with the Sam Nordberg list that I use in this army as well is plan on being charged and then have a good counter in its place. And so that is what I did with I knew the Rhino Cav could do what they did, and 12 wounds is a lot, but on a 21-23 unit with Indomitable Will and a Inspiring right next to it, there was not a high chance that unit was going to break the foot guard as they were set up. And then obviously the foot guard and the general were able to just stomp all over them and just turn and kill them because Rhino Cav, they have decent leadership, but I mean, when they take 10 or 11 wounds, they're going to go down. They're not 21-23. I mean, they're more like a regular regiment. So you can see now that I've cleared the way to go toward that to the flank of the objective of the ceremonial guard now. So he's going to have to react to me. And like I said, here's where losing that troop's bad because normally I would have been bringing that unit of fanatics into this fight and really threatening that unit there. But I just couldn't afford to abandon the objective because he's still got the 3 there and he's castled in the corner with the other one. So you can see here that our considerable numbers are starting to add up, and we're moving forward. I just wish we could have moved faster. That's all I got to say. But I mean, that's where we're at. Going to have to do something with to try to get this token here or this objective here on the right, because I just don't think there's any way we can physically move back to the very back there to get either of those two. John had no choice but to straighten his unit of ceremonial guard back up. Otherwise, he would have risked getting a flank charge by the foot guard. So even though it would have been a hindered foot guard, it's still a hindered unit. It would not have been good to take that charge. He's had to turn one of his unit of ancients around to kind of protect that objective over there. Even though my hero can't do anything there. I mean, it'd really been better if I would have had like a Pegasus hero in this army, just to be able to run and grab these objectives late in the game, because that would have been a big help. And it might be a change that I make to this list. I mean, I'm trying to already contemplating some things to do with it, since this is really the first time I've ever played it, even though in theory it's very similar to my orc list. In my last article on chaff, I called this maneuver the gang tackle, and the reason why it works is this. I charged in with and I knew that these foot guard were not going to break that undamaged unit of ceremonial guard. There was no way that was going to happen. But I wanted to do at least a little bit of damage to it. And I believe I failed Bane Chant, so that did not help my cause, because that would have probably got me another wound or two. But the gang tackle is where you charge the unit with a formed unit like the foot guard, and then you charge 3 individuals into it. So I had the general there on the right of the foot guard unit, and then another lone hero goes into the flank of the unit, and then another one goes into the opposing flank of the unit. So no matter what, I'm going to be there next turn, because he can't kill all those units at once. And what you also see is now that the pikemen have moved up into position where they will have a flank charge on the following turn. And this is gonna work out. But the gang tackle is a great tactic to use when you're dealing with a really powerful unit like that, which you know it's going to take you 2 turns to take down. And for him to turn to fight one of those other little heroes it's in vain anyway. So, but this is how you use the gang tackle to get somebody, because like I said, they cannot kill all those units. Now, he will absolutely kill the foot guard unit. They got maimed by that unit of Rhinosaur Cav, and they're going to take 30 swings for 3s and crush 1, maybe 2 if they have the. I'm pretty sure he did get Bane Chant on them and wiped them out. Over on the left flank, it's still ho-hum. We've had basically there's 2/3 of the army over there, and the only thing we've killed so far is 1 Lichilodon. So, like I said, the terrain had a lot to do with it, but I think if our deployment would have been better, we would have had a much better shot at doing this. We just blew the deployment on the left side. So John moves his ancients back into positions, because he needed to be into inspiring range of his units there. He did move his dragon who had been over there just shooting us up. He moved his dragon over to help this side of the battlefield. And more importantly, to help secure that objective that's there in the woods that has a clear path to it. The problem is it's not a clear path. It's because now I'm going to have to turn that unit of shield wall and move that way at 5 inches a turn. So that's bad. Like I said, having some speedier units would have been a big advantage this game. And I'll see what we can do to make my list a little better, to add at least 1 or 2 little speedy units. His ceremonial guard did, in fact, annihilate my foot guard, but you can see I still got the 3 heroes in it because he can't kill any of them, and that's going to open him up to a charge from the pikemen in the flank. So I did have a blurry picture of my turn 5, but it's so blurry I don't even want to put it on here. I'll just tell you what happened. The pikemen did charge the unit of ceremonial guard in the flank and destroyed them, and then angled toward the other unit of ceremonial guard. I'm just trying to get within range, because you can see now that I am in range of 2 tokens as well, or 2 objectives as well, because of the length of my unit. And his ceremonial guard is holding 2 at the same time. What I'd done, though, is I'd charged one of my lone heroes, a lone ranger, into his dragon to ground it, to keep it from going anywhere, and another one into his ancients to try to hold them in place. So that was the extent of my turn 5, and we'll have to see what his turn 6 was. I'm pretty sure he charges my horde with his ceremonial guard, but that's going to be daunting because I have ensnare and he's having to go through the woods, and he has no terrain mitigation on that unit, so he's going to be hitting on 6s. Whether it is a good charge or a bad charge, he had to charge me just about because I was setting on this one token out here with him not anywhere close to it, and I was contesting the other one next to his dragon, which means I could have had it as well, or objective. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say token, but you could see that he had to charge, and I think he does like 1 or 2 wounds. It was. I mean, there was no way he was going to do a lot of wounds because of being hindered and having ensnare, and that's why pikemen are such a good choice. They might not hit as hard as some things, but they'll stay there an extra turn above and beyond most things because of having ensnare. And then I think his ancients just back up out of the fight there, back in toward the to get back within range of that other objective there. So I think his dragon just went ahead and killed. I don't know. I still see my hero, so we'll find out if he killed him or not. So toward the end of the game, we're sitting there, and like I said, it is coming down to the wire. I easily hold against his unit of ceremonial guard. I charged my general into their flank, and then I would have charged the other hero into there as well, but I had already used my Indomitable Will on him on the first turn when I got wavered by the stupid Liquilaton. So I could not get him in there, and that may have one wound or 2 wounds may have done the whole thing, but I did pretty good amount of damage. I want to say like a dozen to the ceremonial guard, but there wasn't much chance they were going to go anywhere with the inspiring around them the way it was right there. And I needed one more turn to go to out there to at least keep that dragon from. I didn't have to kill the dragon. I just needed to get 1 unit strength next to him to negate him. So what's happening here is he has. I'm pretty sure he's within range of that one in the back there. I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing he is. But he has 1, 2 tokens. That's this one in the corner. He has the one for sure over with the tyrants because we never got close to him. So the 2 here are the ones that are contested. Well, my pikemen and the ceremonial guard have the same unit strength, so neither one of us has this one here in the middle that you see. And his dragon has the one over on the very end. And so that's going to bring the game to a 3-3 draw, and just a incredibly good game, especially over here on this flank where all these things are clustered close together. And like I said, just a tremendous game, so much fun. And I can't wait to do this one again. I really liked my list, and I really liked his list. And like I say, it was a great game, perfectly balanced all the way through. So the second battle of the Epic Quest ended in a well-earned draw by both players, I must say. It was an exhilarating game. It was so much fun to play. Just John doing a superb job of playing the scenario from turn 1. And if he hadn't done that, I think we would have easily overwhelmed him just because we have such huge numbers in this game. And we